Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. It's Jeff, part 2 of my Yoga for Purpose series, especially geared for the guys. And I want to talk today about some of the just basic poses that you can start doing, or in yoga they're called asanas, and a variety of different names that wouldn't make as much sense. I'll use the standard edition names that I'm used to hearing in some of the other routines that I've done. So I want to just show you a couple of principles and poses that you can do to begin kind of understanding some yoga practice and some of the benefits for yoga. So let's start. I want to show you first, I want to show you the parts of what's called a sun salutation, okay, which is what's called a flow. And when you do a flow, you move from one pose to the next through breath. So in other words, you would start here in what's called mountain pose, which is basically you standing straight up, no problem whatsoever. You stand. Usually I would stand in the front of the mat, but because of the way my camera's positioned right now, I'm not going to stand all the way in the front because then you wouldn't see my head. So basically, you start with the position. You can start with your hands out like that, and then you can breathe in, and then when you exhale, all the way down, right? So this is called forward fold. So in your forward fold, you can bend your knees slightly and basically touch the floor. And then what you do next, and try to bend forward a little bit if you can. And obviously the flexibility thing is something that all guys probably lack, especially when you compare us to the ladies. We may never be as flexible as the ladies are with some of these yoga poses, so don't get too discouraged. Basically go to comfort. Let me go profiles and kind of show you with that forward fold. So with your forward fold, right, don't go flat because that's a different pose, but you want to kind of bend your knees slightly, and you want to basically lean forward, and your idea here is to try to get your nose to touch your knees. You're not probably going to do that, but you can see how you're just like that, right? And then the next step would be this flat back pose, right? So the idea here is you want to be a table. So you put your hands on your shins, straighten your legs, and you just straighten your back, and you just kind of move your shoulders back. And that stretches out your back, stretches out your shoulders, and it's a nice, like I said, so you want to be basically have your back parallel to the floor, okay? So you would start with those 3 motions, okay? So you start with your mountain, you would go down forward fold, and you come up to flat back. The next thing you would step into is what's called a plank. So with a plank, you're basically, and it's not like a forearm plank like most people would think. You basically would step back, and you would have your legs straight, and you would have your hands straight down. I'll go profile so you can see that, right? So here's plank, right? You want to have your kind of, tighten your core a little bit, and basically go like that. Now the next thing, maybe I'll stay profile for this as well. The next phase of that plank, after you do a plank, you do what's called a chaturanga, which is like a push-up. So basically, you're in plank, right? Here's your plank, and you're going to go all the way down to the floor without touching it, right? So if you're doing a push-up, right, you basically just lower yourself slowly right there. And then from the chaturanga pose, you'll be down, and then you're going to do what's called an upward dog, okay? So upward dog, basically like this. So you start from plank, here's your chaturanga, and then whoop, upward dog. Basically you're bending your back and tilting your pelvis forward, right? And you can't see my toes, my feet are flat. Some people have their feet like this, some people have their feet like this. And after you do upward dog, so let's go upward dog, right? Basically like that, and then you would go into downward dog. So downward dog kind of looks like that. And then either walk your feet up to your hands, and you would basically do flat back, forward fold, and then up, and back them out. So that's kind of the idea. So I'll show you in fast motion what that little that sun salutation kind of looks with, right? So I'll start by you breathing in, exhale all the way down. Inhale to flat back, and then down to plank. So I'm going to go forward just for this one, just to get in here, stay on my mat, and then upward dog, and then downward dog. And I usually like to stay in downward dog for at least a breath. And then I can jump my feet forward, like that. And I'm down in my forward fold, halfway up, and then down, and then up, and hands to prayer. So that's kind of your sun salutation, right? Now, there are different variants of the sun salutation. There's others that include some poses I'm going to show you tomorrow, but I do want to show a couple of those poses right now and see if I can show you profile. So, one pose you may know is have your hands, have your feet basically straight forward, and then your other foot perpendicular. So one of those poses is this Warrior 2 pose. So the Warrior 2 pose, you got to be careful with this because a lot of people think that Warrior 2 is like this. You're leaning forward. That's not quite what it is. Warrior 2 is actually, you're basically balancing back, and you basically are staying centered. So you see how basically you draw a straight line down right through the middle of me. I got my leg on one side, and I got my arms forward like that, right? So you're not leaning forward. You're basically staying centered and vertical, and you can face forward like that. And then from here, you can also do Warrior 1. Warrior 1, basically same foot position, but instead, raise your arms up and face forward. Turn your hips out, right? I also could do a Warrior 3 from here, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow as well. And one other pose I want to show you for some starter poses that you can do. I did that whole flow, that Sun Salutation that included all those different poses. There's one more pose I can show you. You may have seen it in my cover photo yesterday, and that's tree pose. So tree pose is one of the balance poses. I'm going to do this live. Hopefully I won't fall. And basically, you're going to take your foot and put it on the inner thigh, like that, and then you're going to go either hands to prayer, or you're going to go straight up and look up. And you, of course, would repeat this on the second side as well. And you would just breathe. You keep your core tight, you keep yourself easier to balance. You flex your legs, flex your quads, and you're good. So that's it. So of course you would do that on the other side as well, generally speaking. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing a sampling of some of the yoga poses that you have available at you. I also want to mention that upward dog, that particular upward dog pose, if you have back pain or sciatica, upward dog is actually a really good stretch to help relieve some of the pain that you would feel. And with the tree pose, of course, that's a balance pose, and any balance pose is going to automatically work your abs, it's going to engage your core, and it's going to give you an improvement in your overall balance and flexibility. And that's what yoga is great for. It's great for those kinds of things. So I hope you enjoyed this. Tomorrow I'll be back with even more poses. On Thursday I'm going to go into some more difficult stuff, and we'll kind of see where we go from there. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to be awesome. Thanks for joining me.